Hi, this is Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're doing the astrology for January 2023. That's right, we're doing the astrology. I love doing the astrology and the angel cards because I really hope it really does as much for you as it does for me. I love checking into the energy every day. I love kind of taking my own notes of like what's going to be affecting us, how much it's going to be affecting us, and kind of then at the end of the day looking back and going, did it affect me as much as I thought it was, or did it affect me less? I love those. I love the thinking about things. So I've added a little bit to my astrology reading. So kind of adding some of the explanations. There are always longer videos, but this is kind of like a shortened version of it. So kind of give you a little bit more information, but not as long as some of my videos. So here we go. You ready? Let's start with January 1, 2023. We have Venus in the sign of Capricorn conjunct Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And conjunctions are all about kind of like merging or separation of energies. And this one kind of brings a sense of empowerment on both sides. Venus is our planet of love. Pluto is our planet of kind of the underworld. So it's kind of both of them in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn adds to both of them kind of this very practical, very ambitious, and kind of very masterful energy. And so it really kind of kicks off our 2023 year with a sense of empowerment, a kind of a sense of like focus and power. And I will guarantee you that a lot of people are going to be really passionate about their resolutions this year, at least starting them. Maybe not finishing them, but at least starting them. I think this is a really important time for people to kind of really focus in on that. Now, I will tell you a little bit more about this kind of New Year's sparks flying kind of energy between Pluto and Venus. This isn't necessarily the most romantic or kind of even glamorous kind of connection or transit. This is a good time for passion and ignition. But I will tell you, this is really great for bringing your relationships back on track, bringing your relationships back into the same realm of like being on the same page. Because a lot of times, especially during the holidays, when you've got kids, it's kind of like everybody's kind of going different directions. This one needs to go to this thing, and and you're kind of like all over the place. And then family comes in, and you're like, oh my gosh. So this kind of brings like the parents back together, kind of like getting everybody back on the same page, and kind of adding that kind of like we've been kind of pushing this down for a little bit, but now we're ready to kind of like bring this back up. Definitely. Also on January 1, we also have our first of two energy portals opening up in 2022. Of course, the first one is January 1. We've got the 1-1, and then we add that 7-year energy of 2023. I will link that video. There is too much to tell you about all of that, but I will tell you that one of the things that's really important is kind of really thinking about like, what do I want, not just like standing on January 1, but kind of what do I want to accomplish during this year? What is kind of my bucket list for 2023? It's a great way to think about it. Next, let's go to January 2nd. This is Venus enters the sign of Aquarius. And this is a great one for most people because it's like love can be expressed in many different ways over the next couple of weeks as we have these two signs. Aquarius energy kind of really brings in this like revolutionary kind of like new energy kind of to it, or this new like igniting of energy. And so this can bring us more attention to our friends and our family, and like I said, especially our major relationships, kind of bringing that energy back in, bringing back everybody back to the same page. Also on January 2, we've got our moon enters the sign of Gemini. This is kind of really sparking some new ideas that can come to everybody. This can really come in with kind of like working on short-term plans. This can also give us more attention to our friends and our family and our causes to kind of bring in all of that energy This brings in some things that need to be done quickly. Gemini really likes to focus on that, and it's kind of like putting two energies on one plane. It's like, here we go, we're ready to focus all of this. Next, we have Mercury in the sign of Capricorn, sextiling Jupiter in the sign of Pisces. And sextiles are all about like opportunities and creating opportunities and opening, kind of like, what are the possibilities here. Mercury in the sign of Capricorn. Mercury is our planet of communication, and our communication is all about going to be practical and ambitious, kind of like, where do I want to go next? What do I want to do next? Where do I want to do this next? And that's going to be pushing some amazing energy as we connect into Neptune, which is our planet, our dreamy kind of planet. So kind of like our planet of communication, kind of connects to our dreams. And Pisces is all about the flow of energy. And so this imagination, plug in is going to benefit so many people in so many different ways, and it can bring us into kind of bringing that creative mind back forward of like, what do we want to create in our world? Where do we want to go in our world? And this is kind of, sometimes we're ready to kind of move forward, and sometimes this area has been a little bit like, things have been like Christmas and the holidays and that sort of thing, kind of slowing things down, and now this is like, okay, here we're ready to get back on track. Let's see, next on January 3rd, we have our moon in Gemini, conjunct Mars in Gemini. Okay, let's see. Our moon is all about our emotions. Gemini is all about our kind of like our mental capacity, our communication, and that is kind of really getting conjunct with blending energies with Mars in Gemini. Mars, planet of war and action, is in Gemini, and we've been talking about this. I will link some videos beneath, because basically Mars is in the sign. Mars is our planet of war, is in the sign of communication in Gemini, and that's kind of bringing a lot of war on words coming out. So kind of a lot of like heightened focus on changing our words, upgrading our words, and this is going to even bring this even more forward, because it's going to bring out a lot of people's emotions about the words, like, what you just said hurts my feelings, or what you said isn't really clear, and kind of really calling us on it. And that's that combination of like the emotions part of it, but it also brings in our combination of that, oh, I'm ready to say something about it, with that Mars energy in there, kind of kicking us to be in motion about it. Like, let me tell you, what you're saying isn't clear, or what you're saying isn't clear to me. So what would you like to tell me? How would you like for me to do this? So this is kind of like, interesting. Next, on January 4th, we have Venus in the sign of Aquarius, sextiling Jupiter in the sign of Aries. And sextiling really adds opportunity. So Venus, our planet of love, in Aquarius, our planet of revolution and changing and upgrading, is kind of combining its energy with Jupiter in the sign of Aries. Now, I do have a video on Jupiter in the sign of Aries, and it's really cool. So Jupiter, our planet of expansion and growth, is in a fire sign. So it's kind of like pushing us to expand and grow and move into things that we haven't really been ready to, or we thought we were ready to and then we weren't. Now we're ready to go. And this can really kind of lighten our load and kind of get us a great time to adventure, kind of a great time to kind of bring in new people or new ideas into what's going on. And what is our future like? That's kind of really asking us, what do we want to love in our future? Where do we want to go in our future? Next, let's move to January 5th, which is a very special date for me, and I'll explain in just a second. January 5th, we have our moon enters the sign of Cancer. This tends to be a very emotional time, and treat yourself gently during this time frame, and it can also improve our emotional security, because who we open up to and allowing that person in can really bring in a lot of amazing energy for us and make us feel like, well, we're accepted for who we are. Also on January 5th, our sun is in the sign of Capricorn, and that's trining Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Our trine is all about separating or flowing together. So it's kind of like, which one are we going to do? We can flow together, we're going to separate. So our sun, our ego, is in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is all of that practical energy. So kind of like our being practical with our ego and not getting it too far ahead of us or pushing us too far in advance or kind of opening our mouth when we're not really ready to, is in trining or trying to combine or decide to combine with Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is all about like this very sensuous, very peaceful energy, and Uranus is that crazy hippie child. So we just don't know where he's going to go. This one is really about embracing your individuality, kind of like adding your little spark or your little touch to what you want to do, kind of focusing on ways that you want to bring in positive changes for the new year for yourself, and kind of like adding your own personal quirky touch to things. What is it that you want to do, or how do you want this to come about? So let me add a little personal touch to this. January 5th is my grandfather's birthday. He was very special to me, and I actually felt his energy around me earlier today. So I'm kind of like, oh, let's see if maybe he'll come in with a message for me to share with everybody. That'll be fun. Next, we have our, on January 6th, we have our full moon in the sign of Cancer. And our full moon is all about bringing in our high emotions, letting go things that don't really work for us, kind of moving within our comfort zone, like what's keeping us in our comfort zone and what's keeping us in that area. And if we're ready to let go of it, it's ready to go. Focusing on improving matters at home. Cancers are all about like they're being homebound. They're just kind of, they love being at home. They're kind of nesty kind of people. They love improving matters at home. They love working on their home and their family. And they also love kind of like that internal care of being secure in where they're at and feeling like they can really allow things to open up. Next, on January 7th, we have our moon enters the sign of Leo. And our moon, being our emotions, kind of entering that sign of Leo, is all about kind of like being expressive and opening up to new possibilities. And kind of this is kind of being that more that creative surge of like, where do we want to go? Where do we want to focus our attention on? What are the creative projects or ventures that we want to open up to at this time? And this could also mean a day or so of really just wanting to get into your hobbies and your crafts, allowing yourself a little bit of space of what do I want to do? How do I want to put this together? Also on January 7th, we have our sun in the sign of Capricorn conjuncting Mercury in Capricorn. Our conjunction is blending these energies together. Our sun is our ego, and it's in the sign of Capricorn, which is ambitious. So our little ambitious ego wants to merge into communication. I know Mercury's always about communication, and because they're both in the same sign, it's one of those, it's bringing in a lot of wanting to communicate with others, being a little ambitious and kind of moving forward. So it is going to be amazing. And this is really going to start a very positive time for us for probably the next 6 to 8 weeks or so, trying to make us move into something that you really love. What is it that you really love? What is it that you're ready to move into now? Next, on January 8th, we have Mercury in the sign of Capricorn, trining Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Trines are all about the flow and ease of putting things together. Either we're going to flow together, we're going to flow apart, but it's going to be with ease. And this energy with Mercury in communication, it's kind of like, how are we going to ambitiously communicate with others? And how are we going to flow this energy together? And Uranus is that hippy dippy child of kind of what do we want to come into next? Ideas are going to come out of nowhere, kind of that hippie, like, whoosh, here they go. And I thought we were going to do this, and now we're doing something completely different. And I think that's kind of one of the fun parts about this, this aspect is going to be opening our thinking outside the box, nowhere near the box, and kind of flashes of insight of like, where do we want to go next? What do we want to bring in next? Or how are we going to do this? Let's go to January 9th. We have Venus in the sign of Aquarius, trining Mars in the sign of Jupiter. And trining is that flow. We flowing together, we flowing apart. Where are we flowing to? And Venus, our planet of love, is pushing our Aquarius energy, which is kind of like that revolutionary. Like, how are we going to show our love now? How are we going to get this to come out? How are we going to show this to other people? And Mars is Venus in Aquarius trining Mars in Gemini. Mars is our planet of motion and war in the sign of Gemini, communication, our war on words. This is going to bring up a lot of passion, a lot of love, a lot of coming together, and a lot of talking things out, a lot of reconnections of, I feel like we need to do this. I feel like we need to do that. I feel like we need to go here. I feel like we need to go there. And bringing in a lot of amazing love for everybody and kind of being in motion about it. Let's talk about it. Let's get it out into action. Let's talk about all of this. And even if I need to talk over your words, I'm going to do it. Definitely. Next, let's move to January 10th. And we have our move. Our moon move into the sign of Virgo. So our moon is our emotions, and Virgo is all about love and expressing our love and kind of being very detail oriented, kind of like, how are we going to do this? Kind of breaking this all down. This is going to get us to work in very organized ways. It's going to be kind of like, let's clean up our desk, let's clean up our office, let's clean up our communications, let's clean up everything at this time frame. And this is going to be in there for a few days. So it's kind of like, let's open up to this even more. On January 11th, we have our moon in the sign of Virgo, trining Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And our moon, our emotions. Virgo, love. Trining, flow in or out of. How are we going to do that one? Uranus, our hippy dippy kind of like change loving planet in the sign of Taurus, which is all about being sensual and peaceful at the same time. And this is going to be focusing us on our future, kind of like, where do we want to go? How do we want to express our love? And how do we want to move into the future? And really a future that you're going to love. Not like, I just want any future. It's kind of like, I want a future that I'm going to love. Think about the steps forward that you've got to take during this time frame, and Virgo is going to be allowing you to kind of really do that a little bit easier, and kind of allowing this energy to move forward. This is going to kind of give you that, let's get to work, let's make plans, let's get it all scheduled, let's go, go, go. Definitely. Okay. Also on January 11th, we have our second energy portal for 2023 opening on January 11th. Yep. I've got a video out coming on that one. And so just know that that energy is coming out. It's very similar to the one on January 1, but it's one of those, it can be a little bit more intense, and it can actually kind of amp things up a little bit more. Okay, let's move to January 12th. We have Mars moving direct in the sign of Gemini. Now, just because it's moving direct does not mean it's still not in retrograde. It is in post-shadow energy. It is still in post-shadow energy. So it's getting better and better by the day, but it's not going to be just like instant, it's all ready to go. Mars retrograding is coming to an end. It's in post-shadow, and we'll start calming tempers and frustrations of communication and feeling like people are picking on your words. We have had a big stall out in some very strange energy since Mars has been in Gemini for so long, and it's going to continue to be in Gemini for a while longer. And moving forward will at least help these and kind of help people kind of feel like they can verbalize even more without being so attacked with it. So this is kind of a great sign for us. Next, on January 12th, we have our moon moving into the sign of Libra. Libra is all about balance and harmony. Of course, our moon is all about our emotions. And this is going to be managing projects, kind of balancing different circumstances, different issues, partnerships, You know, kind of like how are we going to balance our family and our friends? How are we going to balance all of this? Our confidence are going to be heightened because we're finding that perfect balance for us. And this is going to be a great way to kind of amp up this energy of what's coming in next. Where are we going next? How are we going to deal with this next? This is going to be a really great one. So let's go to January 13th. We have our sun in the sign of Capricorn, and that is sextiling Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Our sun, our ego. Capricorn is all about our practical or ambitious energy. Sextiling is all about our separation. Are we going to create together? Are we going to separate? Neptune, our dreamy, dreamy planet. And Pisces is all about the flow and the sensitivity in the flow. And our intuition is going to be on hyperdrive today. So try tapping into yours and pay really close attention to your dreams, your meditation, and even trying some very intuitive exercises. Amping up, like, you know, when your phone rings, before you flip it over and see who it is, like, can you guess who it is? If you have an appointment, try to guess things as much as you can and kind of opening up that intuition even more so you can really heighten this energy. Let's go to, on January 14th, we have Venus in the sign of Aquarius, squaring Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Venus, love. Aquarius, revolutionaries. Squaring off is kind of pushing each other, kind of like, how are we going to cross purpose this? We're going to really be pushing each other. Uranus is that crazy hippy dippy changing planet. And then Taurus is our sensual, peaceful planet. And these are going to be bringing us some very impatient energy. This is going to be kind of bringing us easily to snap or kind of like be a little aggressive, not in a good way. This is a great time to channel some energy into being productive or what's coming up next for you and not being so aggressive, because that pushing of that square can really kind of get us in some interesting energies. Next on January 15th, we have the moon entering the sign of Scorpio. And our moon is our emotions. And it's entering the sign of... Sorry, my neck has to pop. Intense, like, secretive energy. Scorpio is all about like the underworld and kind of like hiding. What do I want to hide from everybody else? So this can bring our passion and surging this forward and kind of doing research and embarking into new transformations and finding more personal power, because it's one of those that Scorpio, that Scorpion, is going to be pushing like, what can I do? What can I transform? What can I make different than I am right now? This is going to be a great way to start our January 2023 energy. I'm so thankful you joined me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.